Purdy Mouth Productions had a good question, but I'm going to alter a little bit. He basically said, do you think the events will have fans there? But, like, how would you guys play without any fans? Like, would that affect you guys if you guys are on the, like, football field?
When I was young, maybe. That's a real thing. I wasn't a good practicer whenever I was younger. I didn't fully understand reps. I fully didn't understand why practice was so important. I fully didn't understand that if you're great in practice, you're probably going to be great in the game as well, just because of the way your mind and your body will react. I used to think I could just turn it on and turn it off. In all sports, I used to think that, and I was wrong. And then towards the end of my career there, whenever I got good and, ultimately got robbed by the NFL for being punter of the decade, Pro Football Focus obviously named it there. But for the 5 years out of my 8 years, I learned that everything is inside your head. Every punt that I would take in practice might as well have been backed up with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And I feel like once you go on the field, nothing else mattered to me other than me and the ball. And I got to that point through a lot of reps, a lot of mental work, and to be honest, a lot of failures before I could get there. And then when I got to that point, it was a whole new ball game for me. So I think if there was 0 people, I know a lot of people say this, if there was 0 people there, if there was 700,000 people there, if there was 20 people there, for me, it was just me and the ball towards the end of my career, and that's ultimately what made me become the best version of me. How would it work for somebody who has to bang their head on other humans on a regular basis?
I think eventually it would be fine. I think early on it may be a bit weird, and it's something Mike McCarthy used to always say, especially away games, if we were playing somewhere where it wasn't going to be like a raucous environment where they weren't known to sell the stadium out. Like he'd say, it's going to be terrible there tomorrow. Trust me, the first half, there's going to be no one there. There's going to be no juice in the stadium. Well, I don't care. We'll roll the ball out in the parking lot. We'll play these guys anywhere. Like that's the kind of thing he would say. And I think eventually you would get to that mindset where after a game or two, it would just be your new normal. It'd be weird. It would feel like a scrimmage. Like when in college, did you ever go into your stadium and have like a scrimmage the first Saturday of training camp? That was what we always did at Ohio State. Always felt like a big deal. But it was really weird being in this big stadium with nobody in the stands. Like, you only have those guys on the sideline who you're with.
Well, and also the echoing throughout the stadium with the whistle and the yelling, it just makes it feel as if it's only practice. It just has the feeling of practice. So once you can get past that and really be like, hey, this matters, this is a big deal, I think guys will be able to adjust. But I do think it will be a little bit of a learning curve early. What you mentioned there about Mike McCarthy telling you about no juice in a stadium is so interesting, because you hear about people talking about how stadiums are going to be wild. They play the loud music. Like, hey, when you play the Steelers, every single practice at some point you're going to hear, oh, mama, I'm in fear from my life from the long arm of the law. Oh, and it's turning into my running, and I'm so far from my home. Yeah! You hear about these places. You go to Baltimore. Boom, 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 boom. Wrong one, but yes, 100%. And then, New England. This is our house. All the time. By the way, I've heard that too much in my life, just like I've heard the Renegade song too much in my life and the Seven Nation Army White Stripes. But you hear about preparing for that. You rarely hear people talk about how when you're going into a place that is shitty, a place that is very quiet, that you have to prep for that too, because a lot of guys feed off of the energy of the stadium. They feed off of it, and whenever you know you're going into a dud of a place, it can be a little bit of a mental challenge for some folks.
Oh, it's a huge mental challenge, and I think coaches are aware of it. They know going in, and they are primed and ready to be pissed off in warm-ups and make you bang skulls in warm-ups because we're not focused. We're not dialed in. What are we doing here? And then all of a sudden you ratchet it up and you're tackling guys to the ground in warm-ups, going ones-on-ones. Like, that happens in warm-ups sometimes on the road in terrible atmosphere.
You think we're just going to be able to roll the ball in the field and get a win today? Huh? Is that what you think?
Yep. So you go out, you warm up as a team, you come back in the locker room for like 15 minutes, do the little prayer and everything. Usually on those stadiums that don't have a bunch of juice, 100% of the times your head coach is going to be killing the whole team when you come back in right before you go out to run out to start the game. Like, say, like, it's your guys' fault. We told you this was going to be this way. You guys, like you said, you just gonna roll your helmet out there and think you're gonna get a win. It's the NFL.
Those boys are going to steamroll you right out of this fucking stadium. You don't pick it up. I can look in everybody's eyes. There's not enough energy in this locker room, man. It's like, yo, the stadium is empty out there. What do you want from us?
Like, what do you want us to do, Coach? Like, how are we going to bring juice? There's nobody here. Like, don't blame us for that. Our warm-ups still look the same.
Hey, Coach, next time we play here, I'll have my family here early for play. I'll try my best.